What's up, everyone? It's Wacko. Welcome you to week 4 of NGC season 17. This week we're up against Greg Sio, or Greg Silo. I think it's Greg Sio. With a very weird team with Terra Okidogi, Tapu Bulu Suicune, Iron Moth, Buzzwole, Blissey, Pecharunt, Lycanroc Dusk, Mega Scizor, Darkspin, and Incineroar. Now, like, maybe this team isn't so weird, but to me it's kind of weird because it's just, like, it's very slow and very bulky, although, like, some of these mons are very strong, but, like, we also have 3 poison types. And we have no dark type. Oh, actually, no, we do have a dark type, it's Incineroar. Also, a lot of our Pokemon are, like, red and orange, which is, like, kind of cool. Some of the mons, like, kind of go off that, but, like, even some of the mons that, like, aren't red and orange, there's also quite a bit of purple on his team. Which is just interesting. I felt like pointing that out. So going into this battle, I knew I had to find a way to break through Pechacunt plus Blissey, which required me to try to bring a lot of mixed attackers, and if not mixed attackers, then I had to find a way to keep up momentum and pressure Blissey and Pecharunt the entire game. Otherwise, I would probably lose. Some of the issues is that, like, Enam really can't touch Blissey, and if I am touching Blissey, then I am probably not going to be strong enough to hit the Pecharunt. And have a Terra type that also helps me against the rest of his team that's, like, offensive, because Enam is kind of a better, like, offense breaker. Like, it kind of just wants to eat some hits from, like, offensive Pokemon and then, like, kill them. And then there's also... yeah, he's just got a lot of threats. And considering I do have to bring Enam to this game, Enam was one of the first mons I thought about, and I kind of saw his team and I was like, well, there's no ground types. So initially I was going to go with Terra Ground, but I'll say that I didn't go with Terra Ground. But I actually ended up running a mono special set. And I'm gonna keep some of the sets hidden until after the game, because or until the game is played, because in case this is a playoff matchup, I'd like to keep some of my stuff hidden as much as possible, but I will talk about the things that I had revealed. So unfortunately, I'm not going to talk too much about my Enamorus, because Enamorus didn't get to do anything in this game, which is, like, minor spoiler alert. Also, I need to open up the replay for this, because I believe... okay. I didn't have the replay open. Yeah, so... I won't talk about Enamorus, but I will talk about Iron Valiant. So, in this game, you'll see a mixed Iron Valiant with Close Combat, and you'll see Moonblast, and I'll say that I also ran Psychic. I think it was going to be pretty obvious that I was going to run Psychic, so I don't really mind sharing that information. So I figured, like, a mixed Iron Valiant was able to break through both Blissey and Pecharunt. I'd have to be a little bit careful with Pecharunt, because a Moonblast into Psychic doesn't KO, like, most Pecharunts, but if I can catch it with a Psychic, or get it on, like, Rock's chip, and get, like, a high roll of Moonblast into Psychic, then I should be able to KO it. I guess it kind of depends on the Pecharunt set too, right? Because he could go especially defensive. Although I kind of figured he'd be physically defensive, because I felt like Val, like, either Psychic was gonna, like, two-shot, or they could wall like SD knockoff or yeah, Valgus SD, yeah. Um, but actually I'm pretty sure Petrant can like kind of wall Roaring Moon. At least it can like Malignant Chain annoy it and poison it. And knockoff doesn't do too much if he's like Colderberry. So there's that. Except I'm not going to be bringing Roaring Moon. I was pretty close to bringing Moon, but I kind of figured that I struggled a little too much with Okie Dokie and Scissor, and I kind of had a feeling he'd bring Incineroar or Darkspun too, so it just felt like there was a lot of Mons here that I wasn't really going to be able to break through, and then on some of them, I wasn't sure if I had enough coverage to beat this team. But mostly like the priority spam that he has with Scissor and Lycanroc, I really just didn't want to deal with all that with Roaring Moon, so I'm not going to bring it. But I am going to bring Corviknight with U-turn default boost. His only hazard setter is Lycanroc, but I figured if you want to bring Lycanroc, he might just run it as like a choice band, or he might run it as like a sash lead with like rocks. He can also run choice band with rocks too, and like it might throw me off at some point. My other move is body press, so I don't really touch Petrant, but to be honest, I wasn't going to be touching Petrant anyways, but for the most part with Corv, as long as he brings Iron Moth, like, I'm going to be clicking U-turn because I don't want to let Iron Moth get free turns on me, and part of that is because my rock type is part grass, and my poison type is Nidoqueen, which is weak to Psychic, and my Psychic type doesn't have like good recovery, and I felt like if and I'll spoiler this, but I feel like Uxie does have a lot of stuff that it will end up getting pressured by, and it'll take a lot of chip just to pivot on things, so I figured keeping up momentum will be like the easiest way for me to win this game. So my next one's gonna be Nidoqueen running Life Orb this week. I actually saw this team, and I saw that there's no ground resist, so Earth Power is very, very free, except for Blissey. But the funny thing is Poison Jab is boosted by Sheer Force, and I have a higher attack stat than Special Attack, so Poison Jab is actually a very strong move into Blissey. If I can catch him with an Earth Power on a switch-in, thinking like, oh, it's like Special Nidoqueen, like, it's not gonna be able to touch my Blissey, he'll probably go for like Rocks, or like a status move, thinking that like Nidoqueen will switch out. I can Poison Jab it twice and it will die in most instances. So I kind of like that tech on Nidoqueen. And so it was basically like my other, like, it's gonna break through Blissey and Petrant type Mon. But it also has Flamethrower for like Scissor, whereas Iron Valiant didn't have a fire move for the Scissor. So there's that. Of course, my fifth Mon is going to be Uxie with Psychic Noise, U-turn, Heal Bell, and Encore. I figured I'd run Encore in case I was struggling with Blissey or like some kind of setup Mon like Petrant, or even like Okie Dokie clicking Bulk Up. I ran Uxie kind of fast as well, so I shouldn't have to worry too much about Mons clicking setup moves and then beating me, because Uxie outspeeds like most things on his team, and I ran enough speed to outspeed, I think Doki, but I was hoping by proxy that I'd outspeed like Darkspun and Pechacunt too. I don't remember how much speed I put on it. But my last Mon is going to be Bruxish. Now, I considered bringing Bruxish against RGP, and I kind of regret not doing it, but this was the game where, when I saw this matchup, I was like, holy shit, this is a Bruxish matchup of all time. Now, I do have to deal with Suicune, and I do have to deal with Scissor, but Scissor, like, I feel like if I'm trading Bruxish for Scissor, like, that's a pretty good trade for me. And I feel like Bruxish matched up very well and everything. It's faster than, like, most of his team. If I run Covert Cloak or if I run Lumberry, I can actually just set up on Suicune. I'll just click SD, and Psychic Fangs is an easy two-shot, no matter what. And SD also kind of beats like the Incineroar like Intimidate spam as well. Although Incineroar like doesn't really want to switch in on Bruxish like every time, but it kind of can. So there's that. So my Bruxish is actually running Wave Crash, Psychic Fangs, Aqua Jet, and Swords Dance. It just looked really good into this matchup. So with that said, let's get into the game. And I'm sorry, Crypt, I know you made suggestions for me on like how I could do better at recording stuff, but like I don't give a shit. I'm way too fucking lazy. So as you can see, he actually brings the Okidogi, of course, and then also Iron Moth, Lycanroc Dusk, Blissey, Incineroar, and Tapu Bulu. So I wasn't expecting Bulu to come. I was very surprised by that actually. I wasn't surprised to see Incineroar, and something I didn't mention in building is I've seen him run Scarf Incineroar like once or twice already this season. So I actually like made my Iron Valiant to outspeed Scarf Incineroar because it can. Which is kind of funny, but it's like a little bit faster than Lycanroc Dusk and Iron Moth regardless. So here, I noticed that there's no Suicune and there's no Scissor, so I actually thought maybe my best lead was to just, let me click mute, was just, oh my gosh, just to lead Bruxish, who I named the Fist, because, I was in Aldo's stream one time, and I was trying to type in the fish, but I accidentally typed in the Fist, and I thought it was kind of baller, so I was like, you know what, this is gonna be Bruxish's name. I chose to make it shiny, because it's going to be a shining star, of course. I'm going to switch hard into Corviknight, because I'm stupid. For some reason, I didn't consider the fact he could just, like, blitz, but I figured he wouldn't blitz into a Bruxish. I thought it was pretty safe. And then I also didn't run, like, minus speed on Corv at all, so I was like, maybe if I'm just, like, faster than Incineroar, I can just U-turn, but also, Flare Blitz doesn't kill me, and at that point he'd be taking a lot of chip on the Incineroar, and I actually kind of felt like, if I can get Incineroar out of the game, then it would probably be better for my Bruxish endgame. So I didn't really mind Corv taking, like, chip there. So here I go into Nidoqueen. I do take a Horn Leech. Kind of crazy though, if he was like offensive Woodhammer, I would have just died. And I had a whole ass fucking Corviknight that I could have switched in, but for some reason I wasn't really thinking about that. He does end up being Kebia Berry, which is, you know, I suppose like you're probably gonna run Kebia Berry for Nidoqueen. I'm not sure if he would have lived a Sludge Wave though, if I was like special. So I'm kind of curious. I don't know what the investment on this Bulu was, if it was like specially defensive per chance. But yeah, Horn Leech doesn't do anything in the Corv, and yeah, he does get some recovery, but for the most part, I felt like I just kinda won against Bulu with Corv there. And excuse me, now I can switch in my Nidoqueen, and at this point I'm like, okay, so this is like Scarf Incin, because I don't see another reason for it to be like faster than my Nidoqueen. Although my Nidoqueen isn't like super fast, I had a feeling he'd be like Scarf Incin, for other reasons. What are those reasons? Yeah, I guess he beats like Ogerpon and like Bruxish and Rotom Wash. I don't know. And also, if I'm speed creeping his top mons, then Incineroar would be outspeeding my entire team. So I suppose that makes sense. But I did notice that he was running Scarf Incin like a previous week, so I made sure to prep for that. I should go Hard Valiant here, and I actually thought it was a safe play because I had a feeling like you're not going to click Toxic or Thunder Wave into a Nidoqueen. Especially the Nidoqueen could just stay in, and I could get up rocks, or I could just Poison Jab until he's like forced to Soft Boiled. So I actually just went like Hard Val. He actually stays in though after clicking rocks and lets Blissey go down. Which is actually very big for me because now Earth Power is like way more free, and Enamorous Therian is also like a lot more free. I'm gonna go into Yuxi here. This is like basically my dedicated switch into Iron Moth. He does end up getting up an agility, and then he's also going to go with Meteor Beam, which is really cool. I'm gonna Psychic Noise, which doesn't do too much damage. In hindsight, I probably should have run Psy Shock. Psy Shock would have done a lot more, and then I could easily revenge kill it with something else. But, you know, sometimes you don't always get it right. He does get a Fiery Dance boost, so it's a little bit scary here, but I kind of think, like, I have double priority with Vacuum Wave and Aqua Jet. So I'm actually going to go into Bruxish. I felt like Iron Valiant was probably my better mon to keep. So if I go Bruxish here, I know my Iron Valiant at this point can kill Moth with Psychic. And he doesn't really want to switch in on like a close combat with anything, especially because I'm Life Orb, and then I have like Life Orb Moonblast in the back as well. And I have a Nidoqueen that should hopefully outspeed Okidogi, so I felt like I was in a really good position in this game. I have no reason here to not just click Aqua Jet. I didn't need to risk Moth staying in and killing me, because I had a feeling like they could just stack Moth there, but at the same time, Moth can like easily set up again on Corv. So Tapu Bulu's going to go down to the Bruxish, and now Incineroar's going to come in. I'm going to go into Nidoqueen, because I think at this point, like, Nidoqueen is like kind of sackable. It's kind of weird, but I felt like Enamorous Therian being at full health in the back, and like I could probably get off a defog on something, either on this or like on Incineroar locked in on like knockoff. But I'm gonna go into Queen. If he wants to like lock in Psychic Fangs, that's completely fine with me, because then I could defog with Corv and then like roost up, or I could go Bruxish and get up an SD if he locked in Psychic Fangs, because SD with Bruxish kind of just kills like everything. But he actually switches out of Lycanroc there. He might not have Psychic Fangs, or maybe he thought he would click Psychic Fangs and then he wanted to go Moth on my Corv. I don't know, but I didn't really see any point in switching out of Nidoqueen there. So Nidoqueen is going to take a KO. I'm going to get knocked off my Life Orb. I'm going to get Rocks late game. Just in case the Lycanroc is like Sash, I can break through the Sash and then Aqua Jet can do more damage. I'm going to go hard Val here as he knocks off, because I know that he's Scarf Incineroar. I know that he can't like do much. And he actually just stays in to click knockoff more, which I thought was kind of funny, but I guess you might as well just sack Incin at this point. I will get off a Moonblast. Knockoff is still not KOing me, so I'm just going to Moonblast him again. And now at this point, Okidogi comes in, and I wasn't sure what Terra type he'd be, so I figured Moonblast is just my safest play, and it looks like he's probably like Assault Vest Ogi. Based on my calcs, and at this point, I'm like, I can see what my Nidoqueen can do here, because if I can chip this thing just a little bit, then I should be able to win with Bruxish, and if Bruxish doesn't win because he locks in Crunch with Lycanroc, then Corv or Enamorous should be able to win. So I felt like Nidoqueen, again, was just like my best sack there. Although Nidoqueen did a lot more in this game than I thought it should have, probably, because I tried sacking it a couple times, but it kind of worked out for me. So I do Aqua Jet the Okidogi. I actually don't know why I did that, because it was a little bit risky. I probably should have just clicked Psychic Fangs, because I had no reason to not click Psychic Fangs, because I knew I was faster. So I don't really understand why I did that, but yeah. He will Close Combat, which does a shit ton of damage. He has Choice Band Lycanroc, and Psychic Fangs will be enough to knock out the Lycanroc, and Bruxish will pick up the last KO. So yeah, Bruxish for the win. Double Psychic Fangs KO. It killed Bulu, it killed Lycanroc, it killed the Terra Okidogi, although the Okidogi was like the Nidoqueen and the Iron Valiant did the most damage to the Okidogi, but it's all about the teamwork. This is also the first game I think Iron Valiant like did something. I've been trying to use iVal like all season, and yet like either it stayed in the back and did nothing, or I accidentally switched it in and like died, basically. So like a lot of things happened that were not supposed to happen, but at least Val got to do something in this game. I got to keep my Enamorous hidden, so that's why I didn't reveal what it was gonna be. But for like the rest of these guys, excuse me, for the rest of these guys, I was like, I think it was kind of obvious what I was gonna do, but I'd like to keep my Enamorous hidden. So that'll be GG's to Greg Seo. He is a really good player, although his teams are a little bit wonky. I just like, he's just one of those players where I feel like he could just kind of draft whatever and like he'll make it work. But I was seeing how he was playing, and I made sure to keep note of how he was playing when I was prepping, and even when I was playing him. I feel like he has like a style that was like easier for me to pick up on just by how he was winning his other games, but like starting 3-0 plus 15, I think it was plus 15 or like plus, I don't know. He had pretty insane differential going into this game. I'm pretty happy to have won here. I believe he's still above me in the standings, but I believe we're also both like top 2 seeds, so yeah, good luck in your future games, Greg. I hope to see you in playoffs, honestly. Not because I thought Bruxish had a good matchup, but because I think you're a good player, and even though I think your team is kind of like toxic, quite literally, like it was kind of interesting to prep for. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys soon.